Welcome to ZIA TV, covering small cap stocks and emerging companies. We're talking with Tom Stevens, chair of the British American Business Council, about their upcoming Transatlantic Conference, which, by the way, is being sponsored in part by Zacks Investment Awareness. Tom, welcome.
Thank you.
You have a big conference coming up here. We're happy to be participating. This 2017 Transatlantic Conference focuses on commercial activity between the U.S. and the U.K., as I understand it. Is this still a special relationship, or is this more of a nostalgic one?
Well, it could be both. If you go to London and you want a great evening at a charming pub, you should be able to drop into the nostalgic part of it. But for our purposes, it's very much a living, breathing, commercial sort of relationship that should have demonstrable relevance. And the quick indicators of it to measure, there's some $600 billion of investment from the U.S. into U.K. companies. It represents over a quarter of all U.S. investment into all of Europe. And the UK has some $450 billion that are invested into the US. So those are the gross sort of measures. But what's much more important is the fact that we have a substantial amount of job growth and employment that goes between an employment flow of individuals, technology exchange, and other data and sort of information exchange. So the two economies are, in a very healthy way, strongly tied to one another.
So did you get any reaction from the business community, I have to ask this, about your leader's recent trip here to the States and her visit with our new president?
You know, it's part of what we expect. In order for this to be healthy, there has to be ongoing dialogue. And certainly this is a more dramatic moment, you know, when this sort of visit happens. But at that level and subordinates levels, there should be all kinds of exchange. I mean, the United States hasn't yet joined TTIP, this Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, but Canada did. That's a dynamic. Brexit, of course, we're all familiar with with all the dynamics around that, and there are a lot of unanswered questions. So at the very least, the business community can start feeling some confidence that at least there's discussions going on rather than not.
Let's get back to the conference. Is the Chicago 2017 Transatlantic Conference all about just Chicago opportunities with Chicago speakers and a Chicago audience, or is it going to be other-centric as well?
It absolutely draws from thought leadership that's across North America, which the BABC includes Canada and the UK. So we'll see a substantial number of speakers coming in from all areas geographically and all industries as well. So it's very important to us that the conference not be parochial. This is not about Chicago opportunity. But on the other hand, it is a conference that you should feel like you're in Chicago. I view Chicago as a hardworking, very practical sort of city, progressive, innovative. And that's one of the reasons why we have so many more panels and individual speakers, so many great thought leaders that can be brought into these discussions. Other conferences have approached these in different ways, but this one will, I think, have a business person leaving feeling that they can actually onboard some practical information, and it'll eventually go to their bottom line.
Along those same lines, is this conference focusing on just higher altitude policy, or is it about practical engagement as well?
Well, you know, it's not just practical engagement. I mean, we do talk about some policy issues to give people the long view. We'll have speakers which include people like Tom Ricketts, not speaking as chairman of the Chicago Cubs, but instead speaking as chairman of Insight Capital and his substantial investments between the U.S. and the U.K. We'll have Carl Tannenbaum, who's the chief economist of Northern Trust Bank, again, giving a long view. But then the panels go into areas such as health and health tech, financial markets, fintech, global talent mobility, U.S.-UK consumer trending, the Edelman Trust Barometer, engaging people's trust in institutions such as business, government, NGOs, and media. But that's an important point because all these measures aren't just within that channel of the U.S. and the U.K. If you have the horsepower to transact between these two countries, you're likely also transacting on the continent or somewhere else. And so while we don't try to stray from it, we do very much include in the long view the kind of the greater dynamic of what's happening.